This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Mason, you believe in smart design.
Yes.
You believe in premium fabrics.
Yes.
You believe in simple shopping.
Yes.
You like a website where you can go on and you're like, this is well set out and I understand where all the clothes are and I can get this and this if I wanted to. And there's another tab but it clicks down really easily.
Without exaggeration, that's my favourite thing in the world.
Okay, good.
Because I love a shopping on the internet.
I know you do.
And if it's inconvenient, that bugs me.
Yeah. Well, Mack Weldon clothing, all their products are naturally antimicrobial, which means they eliminate odour. They want you to be comfortable also. So if you buy your first pair and you're like, I don't like this, but I want to keep it and not pay for it, then they will refund you for some reason.
The absolute madman.
That's right. No question.
But look, they are comfortable. Hey, I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing a Mack Weldon t-shirt right now, and I regret it.
I've never seen you look worse.
It's loose where it should be tight, and it's tight where it should be loose. It's like whoever designed it had never designed on a human body before. Like they just did pet clothes. And they're like, I'll give making t-shirts a go. It's harder than you think.
Absolutely,
Mack Weldon's real good. Fit real nice.
I agree. They do underwear, socks, shirts that look good. They perform well too. They're good for working out, going to work, going on dates, just everyday life. If you go to mackweldon.com also and use the promo code PLANET, you get 20% off.
Nice.
That's mackweldon.com, promo code
Weekly Planet? What did I say?
Planet.
Planet, okay, right.
Good work.
I was distracted. Your kid's in here.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He was grabbing the bloody cable.
He was. Mason, do you mind if I step out for the rest of the show?
And I have to take care of the child.
Yeah, no, that and also like bring in another guest because I'm not going to be here for the rest of this.
Okay, sure.
Do you mind?
Well, what I can do is I can get the guest to take care of the child. So,
okay, good. So
nice.
You just do this by yourself. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to be here, just to be clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so I don't have to look after a child and I don't have to be here.
That's
to do
right.
this fucking show with you.
Perfect.
Good. Still counts as an episode though for me. I'm just saying.
No, it doesn't. It does not. Absolutely not. No.
Red hot comic book movie news, shooting up your butthole. The Weekly Planet, the Weekly Planet.
Welcome once again to another episode of The Weekly Planet, the official podcast of comicbookmovie.com, where we talk about movies and TV shows and comic books and sometimes murderous extra-dimensional clowns. This week, I am your host, Nick Mason, regular host, James Mr. Sunday Movies. He's in Hollywood. He's Hollywooding about. He's gallivanting about. He's pointing at signs and he's being on movie fights and he's getting into real fights with those cosplayers out Hollywood Boulevard. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, listen, I can't do this alone because I'm technically very incompetent. So we're gonna talk about the movie It, and I'm a big old fraidy cat, so I figured I'd employ my two bravest mates. Mm-hmm. They are stand-up comedians. They are writers for the television. They are podcasters. They have their own great podcast, Two in the Think Tank, and the bravest thing of all, they're both dads. So yes. The bravest job in the world.
The real heroes.
Yeah. In a way. So may I introduce Andy Matthews and Alistair Tremblay-Birchall?
You may. I'm Andy.
And I am Alistair George William Tremblay-Birchall. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Thank you, Nick Mason.
You're very welcome.
It's a real bloody pleasure to be here.
Let's get it out of the way. Where's the accent from? I ask you every time.
Sure. It's Canadian with 20 years of Australia in it.
Huh.
Yeah. So did you not know that? Did you forget that?
I had a vague sense. I think you tell me every time, and then I forget every time.
My mom's French Canadian, my dad's Australian.
It's pretty much 1 part Canadian to 2 parts Australian at this stage. But
yeah,
I mean that Canadian, it's got those notes that just linger on the tongue.
Those honey notes. Yum yum yum.
Yeah, that's what you taste.
Andy, what have you got? Tasmanian?
Tasmanian.
Good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
delicious.
that's those apple perfumes that are kind of emitting from your sort of back teeth.
Tasmanian with a hint of watching David Attenborough documentaries for pretty much 10 years straight.
Is that where the husk comes from in your voice?
Yeah, a little bit of husk. Also, I've got a cold. I don't know. Who could be anything.
Don't we all?
Nick, where do you come from?
Northern suburbs of Melbourne.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've just kind of basically from birth to this moment, you've traveled about 200 meters?
Yeah, I've driven from Zone 2 to Zone 1.
Okay,
and now I'm here.
That's great.
Bloody, how far would Jon Snow have gone in that amount of time?
Don't get me started.
Season of bloody,
people are very upset about that.
Yeah.
I'm not a Game of Thrones guy, but I do have to I do have to watch the entire thing and talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that people are very upset. People have drawn diagrams. People do not care. They're like, but in the previous season, he only went this far, but no, it's...
Allow me to tell you that the only reason I know about it is from listening to your podcast.
Oh, okay, right.
Listening to you, a person who doesn't want to know about it, tell me about it.
Good.
Tell me
Wow.
about the other people who are unhappy about it.
Wow, it's like a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah, it's the only way I get information.
Anyway, speaking of information, do we want to talk about the latest news?
Absolutely.
Up to the minute news. Okay, here's probably the biggest news for this week. So, Star Wars Episode 9, the upcoming yet to be filmed Star Wars Episode 9, has lost its director.
Okay, so this isn't the first Star Wars movie to lose a director,
No, this
right?
is the third. Wow. So there was going to be one a few years ago that was going to be directed by Josh Trank, who then directed Fantastic Four.
Wow, okay. Sounds like a good loss.
That was a good loss. Then Lloyd and Miller, Phil Lloyd and I'm going to say Phil Miller, they were going to direct the Han solo film.
Yes.
And they got booted, apparently because there was too much improv on the set. There was too much...
Are you serious?
Were they apatowing it?
I think they were a little bit, yeah.
Oh, no.
They did the Jump Street films, and so they're...
Right, there's just a lot of goofing, a lot of...
Yeah, but also...
hijinks.
Yeah, I think that... What we're seeing recently, like the trend for big Hollywood blockbusters, is you get an indie director who can
Yes.
inject a little bit of heart,
Yeah.
and you bring him in and you say, okay, let the actors give some good performances and have a bit of fun, but do not touch the plot, do not touch the action sequences, do not touch the special effects, don't touch the character designs,
Right.
don't touch anything, and if you do, you're out.
So it's like you're staying in an Airbnb. Basically,
Absolutely.
the Star Wars universe is a sharing economy.
That's
where
right.
you can come, but there's a lot of sticky notes on things. There's a lot of laminated sheets of paper next to the sink, and you're not allowed to. If you fuck up, you are going to get a bad review.
Do not touch Jabba's drapes.
Yes.
If you do,
Those
big trouble.
directors were caught going through their drawers.
That's right. So this time around, it's Colin Trevorrow. He did, as with the trend, an indie film about 5 years ago called Safety Not Guaranteed. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Yeah, I did.
It was based on a funny picture from the internet.
Yeah.
It was.
You're serious?
So there's this funny picture that has circulated on the internet. It's like a classified ad, and it says something along the lines of "Wanted someone to go back in time with me. Must have own weapons. Safety not guaranteed. I've only done this once before."
Sure.
And the premise was there are these media elites up in the big city who we're going to go to this little town and find this crazy character who wrote this article, and then everybody falls in love. You know, it's one of those.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought it was going to turn into a time travel.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Usually with this sort of indie film, it's always left a bit ambiguous. It's like at the end, somebody opens a door and there's a light, and they go, "Oh my god!" and then the film ends. But with this one, somebody walks into a field and there's a time machine, and they go, "Oh, it's the time machine."
a time machine.
And then they walk into the time machine and they disappear.
And they travel through time. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I like my subtext. Written very large and
Very
on
large.
top of everything
That's
else.
right. So anyway, he did that, and then he was given the keys to Jurassic World immediately afterwards.
Oh, wow.
And then he's been given Star Wars Episode 9.
And he's lost it.
Yeah, because who's to say why? There's some rumors, but in between
He
Jurassic
put a time machine in it, didn't he?
Yeah, he might have. I mean, you can't rule it out. right?
There's no suggestion of time travel at any point in the Star Wars universe.
No,
is there?
there's some spin-off stuff that may...
Oh,
there's
really?
some non-canonical spin-off stuff. There's one where Han Solo goes back in time and dies, and then his bones are dug up by Indiana Jones. It's non-canonical, but it exists.
Are you sure that's non-canonical? Because that sounds like something they would definitely
Sounds
include.
plausible, doesn't it? But in between Jurassic World and now, he released his passion project, which was a movie called The Book of Henry, which was a movie about a super intelligent kid who dies in the middle of at the end of the first act, and then he leaves his mother a plan to assassinate somebody.
Wow.
And it's
Whoa, yeah.
it's real weird.
You've seen it?
I haven't. It didn't get a release here.
Okay.
So that's come out. There's been some bad juju about it, and now he's out.
Wow.
So,
Do you think it's on the basis that they looked at that movie and they were like, you just fluked all those other films, obviously. This is the real you. The real you's come out now.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like he even fluked that many other movies. He fluked one indie and then
You got Jurassic
Jurassic World, and then they're like, put dinosaurs in, have some people running around, do not change anything. So
Yeah, I mean that had a minimum amount of millions of dollars that it was going to make anyway off of the back of being Jurassic
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jurassic
exactly,
something.
yeah.
So who are they thinking? Did I see that they're thinking about Mr. Steven Spielberg for this?
That's
as
certainly an option. Yeah,
as a director
Yeah.
replacement.
But I think that's that's always on the table. It's
Is it-
just to beg and plead.
So is that like they're like, okay, look, director's gone. Please, Spielberg, will you do this? Like, is that one of those kind of situations, or is it just that he's kind of quite available these days and he'll just do anything?
No, I think it's the begging and the pleading.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, apparently Trevorrow was unbearable on set. That's another of the rumors, the scuttlebutt is that too many opinions. And you can't do that. You can't just be like, "Hey guys, why don't we let's make Luke Skywalker a bad guy." You can't just, unless that's the plan.
Wow.
Already.
I mean, it would be non-canonical, but
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look, but you could explain it like maybe he was an asshole as a kid, and then somehow
That's
he
true,
had a
yeah.
turnaround.
Yeah.
And that makes him even more likable. The fact that he recognized the awfulness in himself and then became a good guy.
That's true. I'd love to see him overcome something.
Yeah.
Instead of what the entire empire and also his own everything. Look, that was not a well-constructed sentence.
No, but let's say like all he had to do, let's say like something that is very difficult to conquer that doesn't involve the empire is like
Bullying?
That's
Workplace
difficult.
bullying.
Workplace bullying. Yeah, that's the real demon.
That's a good one. But what about a bowl of Doritos on a table, right? It's there.
I'm listening.
Yeah, you
Yes.
don't. You're like, I know I shouldn't eat this whole bowl of Doritos on a
Sure.
table, right? If Luke Skywalker, if you could see him do that, you go, that guy he might be the gifted one. He might be the one that they foretold about. And yeah.
They left his drink on the table, and he didn't take a single sip until his mains arrived.
See, that's
He's got the power.
that's great, right? Also it's nice and localized because I think the scope. It'd be interesting to just see a smaller scope Star Wars movie.
That's what
I think
people have
after
been
all
wanting.
this,
Yeah.
But it just all takes place in the one room. It's just him there with his demons.
We'll get
and this-
Linklater involved. Linklater could direct. This is
Yeah.
exactly the kind of thing that he would do. At least
He's an indie guy.
is he?
Is he?
He's pretty indie. He made that movie Tape, right? Where
Yeah.
they were sitting in one room and they just spoke for a bit.
That's really good.
Yeah, it was really good. There was no Doritos though, so we don't know whether he's capable of doing that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
What I've decided to do is leave in a lot of awkward pauses because
Yeah.
James. See, for those listening at home, which I assume is everybody, I have outsourced the competence of this episode to Andy and Al. We were in Stupid Old Studios because I am technically very not proficient. So,
And we're
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave in a lot of awkward pauses, and then James, Mr. Sunday Movies, is going to have to edit them out.
And
later.
I am absolutely happy to pick up that ball and fumble with it.
Thank you. Bless you. Hey, here's another bit of news. Jared Leto. Opinions on Jared Leto, anyone?
I have absolutely no opinions on Jared Leto. I don't know if I've seen anything that he's done.
Dallas Buyers Club.
Haven't seen it.
Suicide Squad.
Not seen by me.
Requiem for a Dream.
One that I have not encountered with my eyes.
Well, you've heard it with your ears, or
Yeah.
you've touched it
We've
with your
trapped you.
skin.
We've trapped you in a web of logic, Andy.
Look, I sort of I liked him in Requiem for a Dream, right? But since then, seeing him outside of films, I feel like he looks like a being of pure ego.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I heard him talk about his band, and he believed in them so strongly that my only reaction, he's such a high pressure system of belief in self, is that I cannot give him any of mine because I have to keep it away. The ego can only travel outwards from him. There's no capability. He is a son
Absolutely.
of ego.
Yeah.
Not the son of an ego, but like a burning ball of ego.
Not the son of Ego, the living planet. It's a little reference. We're gonna
That's
always
good.
bring it back. We're always gonna
Absolutely.
bring it back. Always
Yeah.
gonna bring it back. No, you're right. And he's also he's one of those guys you'll see in a photo of like he's at like a fashion runway and he's watching the show, and then there'll be photos of him a week later and he's wearing like the green alligator skin coat just on the street.
You're
just
not
like-
supposed to wear it.
You're not supposed.
Nobody does
to.
that.
It's not for wearing.
Yeah. That's it's not for like public consumption or whatever it is. It's pet food only kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's fashion runway only is what it says on the label, and there. It's actually unhealthy for you if you wear it in public.
Oh.
You know.
But you
It's got
can feed it to
asbestos
your
in it.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Armani puts asbestos and all this
in the
coats.
lining.
That's right. So anyway, so you may not know that on Suicide Squad, he was a bit of a handful. He would like send his co-stars like bullets with their names on them and stuff like that. And like
Was there like a pig blood situation?
Yeah, there was, and there was like he'd send them used anal beads or whatever, and which is a logistical. Andy, you've got a look of a man who's like, that's a logistical nightmare. You're right.
The used anal bead situation.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that. I wouldn't know where to start. Is that a?
I mean,
well,
first,
hang
first
on.
you have to find out that
That's
it's
true.
used, and that is the worst already.
Right, exactly.
That you've had to undergo this kind of like, what's special about this?
Now
thing
Warner
that he sent me?
Brothers have to have like a Jared Leto forensics laboratory where they have to go through all the weird stuff he's setting around. But so anyway, on Suicide Squad, he was a weird
Cat.
a real weird cat because he was the Joker and he apparently wanted to get real method on it. And apparently now they've been filming Blade Runner 2049, the sequel to the original Blade Runner, and his character is blind in the movie, so now he's blind on set. So he's purchased a special set of contact lenses. I'm assuming they're just white.
They could just be cloth.
They're just cloth, yeah.
That must be infuriating because like a lot of people when there's a disabled character played in a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like people say why can't that be played by an actual disabled person, which is a really good argument, right?
There's a movie came out recently, Baby Driver. There's a blind man in that, actual blind actor.
Fantastic, right? But like you would say that one of the only reasons you could argue to not have a blind person playing that role is that it's just a bit more convenient to have someone who can see so that you can get them to the set without them tripping over a cable or something. But if you've got a sighted person who just pretends to be blind, you don't even have that.
No, and in fact, it takes more effort because one of the assistants has to be taken out of the rotation to like lead him round by the elbow.
That's
around
it.
all the
An
sets.
actual blind person would have the ability to guide
learn.
themselves. They'd be independent.
They'd have a dog or a stick.
Yes.
Maybe they learned echolocation.
Exactly.
Some of them do that.
You guys are men of science. How does that work?
Dolphin. You've got to commune with a dolphin.
You find your spirit animal.
Mind meld with a dolphin.
Happens to be a dolphin. You're doing all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a quote. This is from the director. He entered the room and he could not see at all. He was walking with an assistant very slowly. It was like seeing Jesus walking into a temple. Everybody became super silent and there was a kind of sacred moment. Everyone was in awe. You're coughing with belief, Andy, there. But I'm not finished. It was so beautiful and powerful, I was moved to tears. And that was just a camera test.
Okay.
Wait, is that a quote from Jared Leto?
No, that's a quote from the director.
The guy who's now left the film.
Oh, no, this is it. This is...
Oh, okay.
He's still
This
on
is a
board.
different guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a great thing to say sarcastically after you've been fired.
Also, every element of this, you could very easily spin the other way. Everybody became super silent. Yeah, they did because of how weird and offensive it was. That's why.
This is problematic.
I was moved to tears probably for insurance reasons. That's why. This is going to cost me $1 million if he trips on something. Falls down one of those weird pyramid buildings.
I should
Blade Runner.
Like the insurance company interviewing you after he really hurts himself. Like, wasn't there anything you could do? Like, tell him not to do that?
Right?
Oh, no.
No, I'm only the director. I'm not allowed.
I'm sorry.
I can get a slightly better performance out of him, but I cannot affect any means of the plot at all. Leto added, he didn't dive as deep down the rabbit hole as maybe I've done before, but I stayed really focused.
He was still mailing the anal beads.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's an integral part of that character.
But they weren't used this time.
Is he kind of like is he still mailing stuff to people, like, you know, like letters that are very poorly handwritten?
Be good, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Sort of, this is a drawing of you, or here's like a sculpture. So it seems like that's more of like a sculpture art form. Is kind of, you know, like those sculptures you can really touch.
It's very tactile. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's a very tactile thing. So maybe he's sending people like, this is what your collarbone feels like to me. Like that.
Does anybody know anything about method acting? Because I'm starting to think this isn't actually what it is.
My understanding is that that's not what method acting is.
Yeah, right?
My understanding is that method acting is where you use experiences from your actual life, right?
Like the time you bought those contact lenses.
Right, you know, if I'm performing in a scene where I have to buy contact lenses, sure, I might go back and I might recall a time on which I bought contact lenses, and I use the emotions from that to bring to the scene, so that you get a really emotionally real buying contact lenses scene, but just being a fuckhead
Yeah.
to your coworkers.
You can swear on this. It's fine.
Yeah, can I? Oh,
Yes.
good. I'm glad I asked.
In many ways, it's a shame that the Joker curse isn't real. You know?
Isn't it though? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame there's a Superman curse and not a Joker curse.
Is there a Superman
There's a
curse?
Superman curse. Well, I mean, there's a Superman curse in the sense that there's been so many actors. You know, there's been actors playing Superman for 80 years, and some of them have died.
Yeah, and
So
You might say that there's just a man curse. You know, the
wow.
curse of humanity is that we must all die, and bad things happen to all of us, sometimes seemingly randomly. Anyway,
this episode is brought to you by... No, I'm kidding. We did the ad earlier. I don't know what it's for. Let's see. Who loves Marvel movies here, guys?
I really love Marvel movies.
I enjoy a lot of Marvel movies when I see the movies.
Here's
But you don't seek them out.
No, I generally I would say I'd probably go see 50%.
Well, there you go. Good strike rate.
One form or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's been your fave, Andy?
Oh, look,
Or least fave? Or one you found that was okay?
man, this is the lowest stakes question, but I'm so terrified I'll get it wrong and I'll say a DC film or something. The Diary of Anne Frank movie?
No. That's not out till 2019, you idiot. They haven't bought the rights yet.
Look, I'm a big fan of the Avengers, the first Avengers.
That is a good
film.
one. That is a good one. And I think the Avengers has been on a little bit of a downward spiral since then.
And I am a very large fan of Taika Waititi, so I'm very excited for the new Thor
That is exciting,
film.
yeah.
I've been watching all his little tweets and things.
Yeah, well, actually,
He does
I was going to do a different piece of Marvel news, but here's some Taika Waititi news.
Yes.
Let's see. Hang on.
That's not news.
No, I'm getting to
That's
it.
just noises.
James is going to edit this out. He's not, because he enjoys me fluffing about. Thor Ragnarok, which is upcoming, obviously is going to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but apparently Taika Waititi is not concerned with making an episode of some larger thing. So he's put his foot down and he's saying this is a standalother. You don't have to-
self-contained.
Yeah, a self.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of such a thing?
It's a little Polly Pocket. It's
Yeah.
a little other small thing.
I mean, this is the kind of ballsy move that will get an indie director booted from a film.
I know, right? He's
Yeah.
really making a power move here.
But from what I've seen in the trailers, like it seems to all take place in space or like on some other realm or something like that. So it kind of it feels like it makes sense that you could do something that's more or less
that's true, yeah.
independent.
Well,
out
apparently
there.
it's going to be bouncing all around the place. There's going to be a little bit on Earth. There's going to be a little bit in Asgard. There's going to be a little bit in from the magical realm of and then an alien planet.
Mr. Thrum,
Yeah, Mr. Thrum.
Mr.
It's gonna be-
McThrum.
Yeah, it's going to be at Mr. McThrum's house.
magical toy box.
That's right.
So and so for what purpose would you do this? Like make it a standalone so that you can make things happen to Thor that other directors don't have to continue that story of. Like
Yeah,
they
like
don't
his
have to do-
haircut, for
Like so he gets he said it gets like one of those asymmetrical haircuts.
Yeah, right.
And then so it's like, look, just so everybody else in the Marvel universe doesn't have to do it.
Exactly. You can just add a line that off camera he got some extensions later, and it's don't worry, just add it. It won't cost you anything extra. Just fine.
No, that's too much. Okay, that's fine. We'll just make it a standalone film. Whatever.
The next Thor movie after this will have someone shouting from off camera. Nice extensions.
Yep, exactly.
Early on in the film.
That's right.
Because you got to tie up those loose ends, otherwise people are going to be angry.
Well, he said here, if this is the only Marvel film you see, he wants to make sure it's a great film and it's a great story in and of itself. The lucky thing is that there are a bunch of geniuses who run Marvel who make sure that even if it's a standalone piece, it's part of a great big jigsaw puzzle that could be appreciated as a whole as well, which seems to me like he's throwing a whole bunch of other people under the bus. It really sounds to me like he's like, I'm going to... Look, Thor's going to lose both of his hands at the end of this, and honestly, if you want to fix it, I don't care. Do whatever you're going to have to fix it.
I know that I'm the pilot of this aeroplane, but there's a lot of passionate passengers back there who are really keen to get to the destination. So I'm going to take my hands off the wheel, and we'll just see what happens, because I believe in those guys back there, and they're going to do this.
There was a lot of like computer engineers that worked really hard on that autopilot thing. So that should take over.
Yeah.
That should take over. And if it doesn't, well, programmers.
I've done my part.
Yeah.
Anyway, where's that eject lever? Click. Anyway, back to what I was gonna get to, Andy.
damn it.
I was gonna get to
I'm
Andy before you
sorry.
interrupted me. They've released a casting call for Avengers 4, which is not the one we're gonna get next. That's 3.
Oh.
My agent hasn't said anything.
Well, look. Apparently, there's.
I mean, she mostly gets me ads, but
Yeah. Do you want to talk about those?
no.
Okay.
That wasn't a segue into I want to talk about ads.
No. Okay, so
I'd like to speak about my son for a little bit. No, I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, see, I am glad you guys are here because, we needed the dad perspective probably
Demographic.
later on when we talk about It, the movie, but also because James, Mr. Sunday Movies, is a dad, but he also hates all other dads.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're here now.
No,
while
that's
he's
fair.
not here, because otherwise there would have been sparks.
There'd be a dad down, a
There'd
dad
be
off.
there'd be a dad off.
Yeah, and to be honest, it takes two dads to make up one Mr. Sunday Movies dad.
That's true. Yeah.
I actually have 2 kids, so I am actually 2 dads.
He's a double dad.
So really, we've got 3 dads in here.
Plus you.
I got dad
I'm
to
a
spare.
potential dad.
You're a potential dad, which means in a way you have an infinity amount of potential kids. So there's, and I feel like the infinity amount of imaginary kids makes up one kid.
I know that there's a lot of sperm in a man's
Schrodinger's
balls,
sperm in a
but
man's
I don't
balls.
think that there's an infinity amount of sperm.
I think it's
like,
close enough.
Even Masons,
No.
Substantial testicles.
substantial testicles have abound in the physical universe in terms of the number of sperms that they contain and can produce.
I think a lifetime's worth of sperm is close enough to infinity sperm that mathematicians, if you were to write that down, a quantity of sperm on the ground, they go that equals infinity.
See,
like that.
Al, glass half full.
Yes.
Of sperm. Andy, half empty.
yeah.
That's how that happens.
It's an infinite glass. So.
Oh no.
There are 3 types of infinity, right? There's the countable infinity, which is all the integers. There's the uncountable infinity, which is all the numbers in between all the numbers,
Oh,
right?
no.
And then there's
I was
just
stuck
a
on the
really
first one.
disgusting and inconvenient to count infinity. So,
Which is-
like where you're like, well, I can't be bothered counting all of Mason's possible sperm. I'll just say that it's infinity.
Anyway,
Thanks.
I'm glad that we continued on that topic, and I felt I'd already pushed it too far. But Andy got real mathematical with it.
We want a conclusion to it. We don't
Absolutely.
Want to, so I think, bless you, Andy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyway, Avengers forecasting call. Do you appear to be a bald 30 to 40-year-old black man with a goatee? Because you could potentially get.
Literally, so you have the character descriptions of who they're
We
looking
have some
for.
of them, yeah.
And do you know who those characters correspond to, or can you work it out?
This is.
Because that sounds like a young Nick Fury to me.
This is a casting for a double. So this is it's bald, African American between 30 and 50, chest size of 38 to 40. I don't know what.
Do you know the chest sizes of everyone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yes, I do.
Let's go.
Here we go. Oh, Chris Hemsworth, like a beautiful barrel. Anyway, the ideal candidate must be bald and have a goatee or facial hair that you're willing to cut into a goatee to match the actor. So, my speculation might be it might be a young Nick Fury. We might have a flashback.
Whoa.
Flashback sequence. What do you reckon about that?
Look, I would love to see that happen. Maybe him at college.
Sure, yeah.
Or maybe kind of just finish in high school. Maybe he's driving a Cadillac. Or
But wouldn't you rather say so? The Marvel movies recently have been doing a lot of de-aging. Well, I guess they map out the current actor's face,
Yes.
and then they get a whole bunch of old footage of them from back in the day, and then they sort of map it over, and it's looking pretty good. We had Kurt Russell in The Last Guardians of the Galaxy, pretty good. We had a pretty flawless Michael Douglas in Ant-Man, looked pretty good. So would you like to see like a young Samuel L. Jackson pasted over current Samuel L. Jackson?
I'd like to
instead?
see it if it just occasionally glitched into like doing a few lines from Pulp Fiction.
That'd
or
be
something
really
like
good,
that.
right?
I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, I think the first movie that he ever did was he played like a heroin junkie or a cocaine junkie or a crack junkie or something like that. And I would love them to go all the way back to maybe like getting footage from that where he's he's a bit shaky and he's like he's desperate and a desperate Nick Fury before he kind of had responsibility. I think it was pre-coming to America.
Okay, right. Okay.
I don't think so.
So this is back when he was just Nick angsty.
Yeah.
Nick desperate and frustrated.
Yeah, Nick not sure what he's doing with his life.
Yeah.
I'll be with you in a moment, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Just continue spinning,
look,
guys. You guys are very good.
I was gonna say it would be great if maybe like the sort of the Marvel universe, like the operation that produces it, if instead of like developing this technology to de-age actors on screen, if they could just find a way to de-age actors, because I think there's a lot of money in the film industry that, and I feel like they are at the moment possibly our best chance at just actual eternal life.
Well,
So
they've
what you're
got a lot
saying
at
is,
stake.
So what you're saying is we start de-aging some famous people, and eventually the technology trickles down.
It
to
will
us.
trickle down, like trickle down economics, which definitely
That's
works.
always worked, right?
I like this idea of like, it doesn't normally work this way where we have some new technology, so we test it on the most famous and successful people in the world before anyone else gets it. I mean, usually they do it like secretly in a gulag somewhere in Russia. But I think that if we can all see the very first experiments in de-aging technology taking place on our cinema screens.
But I think also celebrities would be like, they would be ripe for it if you just tell them it's the latest piece of beautifying technology.
Absolutely.
They're down.
If you say it's the new bone broth.
Wow.
It's just stock. It's just stock.
It's the new bone broth?
Wait,
right.
there's new bones.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first person you could actually test it on would probably be Stan Lee. You know, he's the guy you want to kind of keep around. He's got to keep making them cameos.
Well, they've filmed like the last 20 or in
They've already made all the cameos.
Yeah,
Oh, I guess
so.
they just
And
get
they
them
were
in.
like, and then I like to think that they filmed the last one and they're like, okay, we're done on set with Stan Lee. Okay, bye, Stan. Bye, mate. We won't need you for a while.
There's actually like a real deep sadness to that.
They just
bye.
close a very heavy studio door behind him and it just closes with a clunk.
And then he's out in an alley, and then a newspaper blows down the street, and he turns around, and there's no one there.
That's a wrap on Stan.
And then the wall, he turns around the door where the wall was, where the door was, is just all brick.
It's just all brick. Where did it go? It's gone forever.
Was it ever even there?
That's right.
Yeah.
In that scenario, Stanley is senile.
It's a happy little thought experiment there.
Isn't it, though?
No, but we're looking at flesh experiments. That's where we were going.
Hey, speaking of flesh experiments.
Yes? Let's get interesting.
No, actually.
Who wants shots?
This is just the last piece of news here. The Mummy finishes its box office run with $407 million worldwide. Now, is that good or not? I don't know.
That sounds like a lot for a movie that I'm pretty sure everyone saw the trailer and said there's no way we need to see that film.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's incredible.
Well, it only
to
grossed
me.
$80 million in the US, which is apparent. So every time James comes at me on this show with a box office total, I don't know if it's good or not.
Right.
He'll be like, that movie made $100 million, and I'm like, all right. And he's like, that's good for that kind of thing. And I'm like, So $80 million is very much a disappointment, but it's made $320+ million in foreign territories. So
I wonder if was it something that was pitched in that way anyway? Like, was that always sort of the plan?
I think now a lot of movies are pitched that way.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of movies now, the plots don't make sense because it doesn't matter. Like
in foreign countries.
Yes, that's
Right.
what I'm saying.
It's
That's precisely what.
yeah.
Apparently there's been some executive chat in various production offices and movie studios, and they say, well, if you take it to a country where the primary language isn't English and people watch the movie, they go, well, it didn't make any sense, but maybe it's a translation issue. So we'll just...
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they still got to go and spend hundreds of millions of dollars seeing film after film after film in which they just assume, well, once again, they've skimped on the translators, didn't understand a fucking thing that happened.
Well, I mean, we do that. So, like, I watch all of these terrible movies, and none of them have made any
that's true.
sense. I continue to do so.
I blame it on the translators,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
when it's in English.
Or you go, well, it's been made for other countries.
Exactly. It's the perfect crime.
Making sense is just kind of a Western ideal.
Well, if they're going to do that, they should put that up as a screen right at the very start of the movie after, please switch off your phones, and then please be aware that this was made for a multinational audience, and they blame a lot of stuff in translators.
And therefore,
China.
you're all getting the shaft.
Guys-
You're welcome. See you next time as well.
Hey,
you idiots.
get ready for some satire, right? They're
Oh,
gonna
here we
go,
go.
please switch off your phone. Then they go, please switch off your brain. Bam!
Oh,
All right,
got it.
we
You
did
got
it, guys.
all of us.
Yeah.
You got all of us.
Yeah,
Bloody-
I wonder how well the Mummy did in Egypt.
It's a really good question.
You know, like, do you think they're like, I want to see what they think happened here?
Well, I mean, when a movie goes down under,
Yeah.
do we tend to like that?
I think pretty much we're just excited that anyone knows we exist.
Yeah,
like
right.
that is my general feeling
Yeah.
about. It's my cultural cringe feeling is that we're that pathetic that we love it, and it's on my personal self-awareness that I am that pathetic that I love it. So
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that's
the only exception, and I think as a nation we've turned around on it, was when The Simpsons came to Australia. I remember everyone hated it. Everybody was like, "This is a slap in the face to Australian culture."
Wow.
But now we go Australian culture and we do the
Yeah,
quote marks around it. And I think we all love it now.
Well, I think now that has become Australian culture,
yeah,
right? Like we
absolutely.
don't actually, we've said, we'll take that actually.
yeah.
Kick him in the bum with a boot.
It turns out that that's just the culture that Australia says that it has,
Yeah.
and that's why, even though Australians don't really believe it, like America just goes, "Oh yeah, that's what you guys say you are, and
Yeah.
therefore you are."
We only have ourselves to blame. I remember the time the Planeteers came to Australia. The
Oh, yes.
Australian accents in that were really bad. Really bad.
I'm-
They were in
I'm
the
gonna-
outback
I'm gonna-
experimenting on dingoes.
I'm gonna give you something here that
Yes.
you might
Is it
not
going to
be
be
aware
more
of.
of your famous satire?
It's some of my famous satire. It's I think maybe Australian accents are just bad.
yeah.
Oh, the Australian accents were bad and that. Yeah. Anyway, I
It's
don't
just
know.
when a mirror is brought up to us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my classic satire.
If you bring a mirror up to an accent,
Fog. You
happens?
get fog.
Fog,
And then
right.
you know you're still alive.
In
But
the
no
shape
fog.
of Australia.
That's right.
You know, an accent is a lot like a vampire. It doesn't have a reflection.
Fuck.
Yeah.
This guy's good.
But it does have a breath of fog, so
Nice.
that-
I have one more piece of news.
Oh, great.
Okay. So here we go. Some might say I'm just going through the news on the wonderfulcomicbookmovie.com, and they'd be right.
Well, it's a great website.
Don't give away all your secrets.
Okay, so 20th Century Fox has hired Drew Goddard to direct and write the upcoming X-Force movie. So Drew Goddard.
You're going to have
wrote-
to explain all the words in that
Okay,
sentence.
sure. I thought I might have to. So Drew Goddard directed. He wrote The Martian. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Matt Damon's The Martian,
A popular
which
film.
was a delightful feel-good film in my opinion. I had a good time with that. So he's going to direct X-Force, which is, think of the X-Men, but like cooler and more extreme. And they do the missions that the X-Men are too sissy to take on.
So they're like the special forces. They're
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if it gives you any indication, Deadpool's going to be on the team. So
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
know, I know how you feel about Deadpool.
the funniest X-Men character of them all.
and so if say the X-Men were asked to go kill Osama bin Laden, then they would go, no thank you, and they would send X-Force to go do it.
Yes, most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd probably have to employ an X-Man that can bring Osama bin Laden back to life, and then
Well,
kill
that's
him again.
but the X-Force would have that
Oh,
kind
they
of
definitely-
X-Men,
they'd
right?
have that-
They have a
that-
necromancer of
yeah,
some
I
sort.
imagine they've got an necromancer. Sure.
Are there any X-Men that are just wizards? Like, you know, his mutation is that he's a wizard?
Well, the Scarlet Witch. So have you seen the Avengers: Age of Ultron?
I have not seen
Okay,
Age
so
of Ultron.
in,
I apologize.
in Age of Ultron, there's a character called the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
She's technically not a mutant in that movie because Marvel don't have the rights to their own character. Marvel don't have the rights to the X-Men in the Marvel universe on screen, so she's just something else. But anyway,
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Yes.
does Marvel have rights to the X-Men characters? Or is it only in this universe that they don't? Because could they have a movie within the movie in which they use those characters?
In the Marvel universe itself, I believe there is a Marvel offices that produces Marvel comics. So I would assume it's a bit, because sometimes they'll go in, like back in the 60s, they'd go in and be like, it's me, Stan Lee, and the Marvel, So
Wow.
I would imagine in that sense, there would be a Marvel offices in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that does have the rights to all the characters, including the X-Men.
'Cause that-
but they
that
can't
would be
say
quite
it on
good.
screen because everybody would get sued. So, but anyway, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
She's the daughter of Magneto.
Oh.
Magneto powers. Anyway,
Ian McKellen.
she has a very vague ability to change probability to make things happen.
Right.
And it's so vague that it's just been expanded to be like, yeah, her mutant ability is she can do magic now.
So she's like Felix the cat.
She's like Felix the cat.
She
She's
can
got a
just do
magic
anything.
bag.
Yeah, she's just got a magic bag.
Yeah, the Juggernaut's attacking the city. Put him in the magic bag. Just open the magic bag really wide.
My mutation is that I have a magic bag. This is my problem with the X-Men universe is that there's for me there's a clear distinction between the X-Men that are plausible and the X-Men that are implausible.
Correct.
Right, and that should be the division, not like Magneto's guys and Professor X's guys. It should be the plausible ones versus the implausible ones. Mm-hmm. And I guess
so like
the
it's
implausible
like
ones
Wolverine.
Yeah, plausible.
He's got some claws. It's plausible.
Yeah.
It's more or less plausible. Yeah.
He's a plause man.
But Cyclops, infinite energy coming out of his eyes.
No, that's just silly.
Silly.
Yeah. But it'd be great to hook up, and I don't know if any of
it would be great to hook up.
It'd be great.
I've got some flesh experiments that I'd like to try.
No, but I mean, if you could just sort of tie Cyclops down and just make him look into like a nuclear reactor and just get his eyes to
or
just,
even a solar panel.
Yeah, exactly. Or just put it up against the shoot his eyes towards a boiler, run some water through there. That'll run a turbine. You could run all of America.
Well, technically,
on...
it's a force beam, not a heat beam. So you could skip the boiler. You could just have a
Oh,
turbine.
you could just make
spin
it
the turbine.
Yeah, great.
That's
So
nice.
like, or you could use them on a sort of old steamboat.
You could use it on a steamboat. Turn those paddles. Yeah.
Turn. Just tie them to your steamboat, or even a paddle, like a foot pedal boat.
See, mutants can be productive members of society. Just tie them to some sort of old-timey method of transportation.
I feel they won't have a problem with this.
Yeah. Anyway, if they're looking for directions to go that it's outside of the comic books, they don't have enough ideas in there.
Yeah, I think you started messing with the furniture in the universe, Alistair.
Not allowed.
In the Airbnb.
You're out, mate.
There's a laminated sign that specifically says you can't tie Cyclops to a bench. Use him to power a boat.
Oh, they're going to keep my bond?
That's right.
They're going to keep you bond. All right, well, that's all the news, I think. Should we talk about the movie It? Now, James is overseas in Hollywood, having a protein shake with Hollywood Hulk Hogan or something, whatever he's doing. And so I said to you guys, hey, do you want to go see It? And Al, you said, there's a session at midday. And I went, oh, thank God. Because I'm a real fraidy cat, and I wanted to see it at the...
I assumed you were fine. I picture you as a real big brave man, and I went in as a real scared. I wish we'd been upfront with each other before the movie about exactly how scared we were, because I was terrified.
Well, this has brought us together. Then I feel this is going to bring us together. I think. A little bit of honesty,
And in 30 years' time, we'll come back and we'll.
See, I was scared that I was going to be scared, but then I watched most of the old one last night.
You both watched the old one, right?
Yeah.
And you watched the entirety of the old one this morning.
So that actually did help me a lot, because I know it has as much of a happy ending as you can possibly have when an unknown number of children have died.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
First thing I would say is that it's probably top 10 films about children being killed.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also...
Name 9 more that you love. Well, there's a cheeky little reference. There's a cheeky little reference to Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
In this new version.
In this new version, yeah. And
See
that's a series of movies about children being murdered and molested. So that's fun.
Sure is. Do you know, Mason, if this was a thing that was in train, like was this remake always going to happen before Stranger Things came out?
I actually don't know, but...
Because I would be interested to know if the two things are connected in any way.
I would also be interested to know if it's connected to... Remember last year, there was that clown outbreak?
Yeah.
There was that mad...
clown outbreak.
There was a clown spree that happened all around the world. People were just like, I'm going to...
fucking terrify some people on a train. I'm going to dress up as a clown and walk slowly down the aisle.
I'm just going to have an oily machete and stand near a park. It's going to be great.
Behind a bush or in sort of like in the field or...
My only clown experience, and it's not technically a clown experience, but it was in that time period. And I've mentioned this on the show before, but we got new listeners and people have probably forgotten that New Year's a couple of years ago, it was a super, super boiling hot day. It was about 40 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
And I went past... a hotel in Richmond that was having some New Year's celebrations.
Yes.
There were people lining up out the front, and there was a man out the front, and he was dressed in like head-to-toe Hessian sack, but like tied up with rope, like a kind of Resident Evil, like an oily Hessian
When you say
sack.
head-to-toe, you mean like head covered
head
as well.
covered with like a sack on it, like no eye holes, no nothing.
Wow.
And he was just standing there, like looking out onto the road, and he had, in each hand, without exaggeration, he had a chain in each hand that went down to the ground, and at the end of each chain was like a burning piece of fabric. and he was just sort of casually whipping these flaming chains about.
You know, that's not a clown.
I know,
Mason.
yeah,
that's not a clown story.
Yeah.
Unless you've been brought up on some really weird clowns. But, oh man. Yeah.
It was odd. And then I went back later and he was gone, so I assume he had been taken away by the police.
See,
or he'd gone into a sewer. I don't know.
Or he just caught fire, right? Hessian, I imagine, is a pretty flammable material for a guy who's got just some flames he's whipping around.
I guess it is scary to think that under that bag he was also had his face painted as a clown.
That's true. Could have been painted as anything.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's if you want to be terrifying.
He could have been in blackface.
Yeah. I mean, that is terrifying because you think that at some point, you know, if you're walking around like that, there's going to be a couple of teenagers that are not scared of you who are going to go, I'm going to pull off this guy's mask. And if you have a second layer of terror already painted on your face, yeah, that
or
is just the ultimate
or an
plan.
indication of systemic racism. Either of those, both of which are terrifying.
And I find that to be very scary. Even more than that, I just find the complacency of modern Australia that we can still allow that kind of thing to happen. That's what I find terrifying.
Me too.
Apathy of the youth.
Also being hit by a chain that's on fire.
Oh yeah, no,
Probably bad.
that's the top actually.
That's number one.
Fire chains.
So
apathy.
anyway, James always asks. I've just remembered. James always asked me to say to people what the story is.
What is the story?
So it's the 80s. It's the late 80s in this movie. It's a time of riding your bikes in tandem in the summertime with all your friends. It's a time for bullies driving their Corvettes down the street, and it's the town of Derry, and all sorts of children are going missing. Who is it? It's a clown.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Who done it? Clown done it.
Clown done it.
The scary clown that everyone can that just stands around in daylight. That's an interesting thing about this movie and the old one as well. Is that it's like one of the only horror movies that I've seen where you see the monster in daylight a lot.
And I guess we'll talk about this. We'll do a little non-spoilery review. Then we'll get into spoilers. This movie shows Pennywise the clown, the evil clown, straight away.
Yeah.
We get it immediately.
Yeah.
Like, we see, it's in the trailer, this is not really a spoiler, but we see little Georgie in his little yellow raincoat. He pops down, he runs a little boat down the street in the rain.
Sail.
And it pops down to the sewer grate, and we see it straight away, and it's just there. And we're like, surprised. And I felt that, oh, well, this has kind of ruined it. They don't know what they're doing here. I've seen it now. Who cares? But it was working the whole movie.
Oh yeah. I was consistently scared, but I will say that the clown itself, that manifestation of the it creature, is the one that I find the least scary.
The new one.
Yeah, because you know what it can do.
No, just when he is the clown, because he takes on other forms as well, right? But the clown one is the one that I'm like, it's almost reassuring. You know, well, he's just the clown. It's
He's
a
got
clown.
some big teeth. Exactly.
I know his deal.
Yeah.
I know what he looks like.
He has these kind of like, he has those like multiple layers of teeth that he can expose. Sort of like he's a prehistoric worm, like one of those prehistoric worms that looks like it just sucks onto some glass. If there was prehistoric glass, maybe some lightning struck some prehistoric beach.
Right, it's obsidian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And so that suggests that he's not of this time, but the makeup is very modern.
Well, I mean, certainly of the last century.
Yeah.
It doesn't run, which is a modern feature of a lot of makeup. I think if it was older makeup, it probably would have run, in the heat, especially with that level of exertion.
Cuts, colour stay.
Yeah,
I mean,
and hanging out in so many sewers.
I'd be interested, as from a cosmetics point of view. I think a lot of people who use makeup would be interested to know, like, where did he get that?
Maybe he's born with it.
That's maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Pennywise.
So apparently
Stephen
King came up with the idea for Pennywise the Clown after asking himself what scared children more than anything else in the world, which he felt was clowns. What do you guys think? Are you afraid of clowns generally in the world?
I'm afraid of the people who play clowns.
Yeah, okay, right.
More than I am afraid of clowns.
Yeah, I think I'm afraid of somebody making the life decision to become a clown.
Right.
And I'm afraid that could maybe one day happen to me. As somebody who works in the comedy world, I find, that's a bit terrifying.
Yeah.
As a
Al, you were saying you're going to be dressed as a gorilla. Wait, a bear. You're going to be dressed as a bear.
Yeah, for a birthday, for my child's second birthday, I'm going to dress up as a bear, but it's mostly going to...
But, okay, so that's one kid who's going to grow up not scared of clowns primarily.
Yeah.
Possibly more Bears.
And I think that's a useful fear to have.
Yeah.
You know, you're walking through the woods, you see a creature. I mean, I guess same thing. If you're walking through the woods, you see a clown, you should probably run or play dead. I think, yeah. So I guess in both ways they're useful skills.
I also think happy clowns are scarier than sad clowns. Do you guys know Puddles?
Yeah.
Of Puddles Pity Party? He's like a singing clown, and he's like 7'2" or something.
He's enormous.
But he is not scary because he's sad.
Right.
But I feel ultimately it's the scary part of a happy scary clown is that they're happy for no reason. As an adult now, I'm like, why are you so happy? Why are you?
That's very much the Joker thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the Batman Joker-y guy. He's like, this isn't an enjoyable scenario.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad things happening, and you are emotionally not responding to this in the correct way, which could be a primal thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that could be a primal instinct in humans. Is that like in a stressful scenario, somebody who isn't acting in the way that we would expect them to act, that is a red flag that they are not quite right.
You're in a sewer. You should be unhappy.
Yeah,
That's right.
Why are you smiling?
man.
Yeah.
I have got so many questions about the sewer design of this small town. Right, like they have got one of the most epic. And by the way, it's not sewers; it's stormwater drains. I'm pretty sure that's
true.
a stormwater drain system.
Yeah.
But it is such an epic stormwater drain system.
Yeah,
like
for a town of like 600 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for Pennywise to be standing in that stormwater drain while it's raining quite heavily at the beginning there, that is a very dangerous thing to do. I mean, that's basically the main situation in which you don't want to be standing in a stormwater drain because that's where all the water's going.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, what would your reaction have been if they'd been a little more realistic and he'd drowned? Pennywise the clown had drowned. And
Early on in the movie.
He's like, "Hey kid, you want your boat back? Oh wait, go."
To be honest,
The newspaper the next day is just dead clown found in stormwater system.
Boy did nothing.
Yep.
Heartless boy.
Georgie is like so it turns into the villain
Yeah.
of this thing.
Look at him with his two arms and his little yellow raincoat. I feel this movie, some of it was quite visceral, and yet some of it was kind of toothless, I guess.
The old, having just watched the old version, are you interested in comparisons
Sure, yeah,
between the two?
absolutely,
Having
yeah.
just watched the old version, this one had much more actual gore, right?
Right, uh-huh.
The old version had a lot of like blood oozing out of things, like it had those kind of like creepy kind of stuff. But this one had actual physical, like you're going to see people get cut, you're going to see people get a bit chopped, you're going to see people get hurt a lot more than in the old one, where if the blood was coming out of somewhere, it was a sink, not a man.
Okay, so here's a question then. We're seeing people getting chopped. We're seeing people getting sliced. In both in the old one and the new one, do you care about the characters? Because I feel I did. I thought they were quite. I thought even though in this current one, even though they a lot of them only have like a small amount of setup to establish their characters, I very much cared about what was going to happen to them. You've got all the stereotypical characters. You've got the leader. You've got the fat one.
Yes.
You've got the annoying one with the glasses. But even the annoying one with the glasses, I didn't want him to die. So I feel like this movie sort of set down enough heart that I'm like, I like all these guys, and I hope none of them meet a horrible grisly end.
Yeah. I felt that way.
Yeah, it was definitely sort of much more of like the kind of teen movie that I would have watched back, like when I was 11 or 12 or something like that, like a Stand By Me kind of situation.
Yeah.
It's very much Stand By Me meets It.
This movie
meets It, and then Stand By Me goes away because it's just it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this movie also did have it felt to me like it had a very Amblin Entertainment kind of. They very much went, okay, let's look at all the old movies from the 80s and just give this one a bit of the old look of the 80s paint to it.
Bit of that veneer.
Bit of that bouncy little piano score that an ET would have,
It's a the child actors were fantastic.
Yeah, great.
And they were really good in the old one as well. But in the old one, there's the older actors and the child actors, and the child actors in the old one, I reckon, were better than the adult actors.
And I think the writing for the comedy one, so like it's Seth Green in the old one.
I was wondering if that was Seth Green.
Yeah, it's Seth Green in the old one. I'm pretty sure because I saw it in the credits before it started, and then I was like, oh, there's Seth Green.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's Seth Green in the old one, and it's some kid with glasses in the new one. But his writing in the new one, first of all, is way edgier
and way more accurate to what kids would be making jokes about.
Yeah. And it wasn't sanitized for now. Like they didn't go, okay, well, all the things kids said in the 80s are a little problematic now, so we won't say them anymore. Yeah. They were like, that's how they talked. Let's throw in an R word and an
I think they definitely sanitized the racism. The
right,
racism was much more full on in the old one.
Okay, right.
Yeah. I don't think that was nearly as big a thing in this one.
I think they threw around the J word a little bit more in the old one.
Jesus.
Yeah. What he
lovely.
Was. Yeah. But yeah, and look, and I have to admit, what struck me straight away, right, is that the old one was scary in how bad the filmmaking was, right? And the new one really improved on that immensely.
I thought personally, I thought the filmmaking in the old one was still pretty good. Like, but you mean in terms of the way the story is structured?
I think even just the whole feel of it, and maybe it's just older movies, but it just felt like it was made for TV.
We're allowed to say it, old movies are bad.
Yeah,
all old movies are very bad.
I very much believe that.
I feel like perhaps it's that we get used to all the tropes of older movies, and then we go, okay, well, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, so who cares? We were speaking earlier, I only saw The Exorcist as an adult, and it is very funny.
Oh,
it's
wow.
The little girl, her head spinning around and she's saying bad words. It's very funny.
Me and Andy have spoken about this. I tried to go back and watch Metropolis, which is always near the top of these kind of lists of the best movies ever made and things like that. And you watch it and you go, it's so slow, so awful. It looks terrible. It sounds terrible, and somehow you've absorbed every aspect. Like you've seen this story 1,000 times.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's all just through The Simpsons, or
exactly,
or you've absorbed it through all all the other little stories of from film nerds who have basically mimicked these stories in order to make their films, things like that. And you just watch it and you go, this is awful. And so we're going to create a book which is 1,000. Amazing films that you don't need to watch
before you die.
Yeah,
or even after.
Just chuck it on your gravestone.
Yeah,
fine.
Chuck the film on your gravestone.
Just chuck them all.
Just throw a DVD at my gravestone.
That's right. Yeah.
They I think that's it. The further you go back, the worse the films are, and more recently, films are better. And they probably only really got good in the last couple of months.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, Dunkirk was pretty good.
Pretty good, like that one. Yeah,
this was definitely better than the old.
You're like, oh wow, they're really hitting their stride. Yeah. I'm glad we stuck with this film thing because, to be honest, I thought it was a bust.
Yeah, every week, like just the head of MGM, he's got like his finger over the button just to self-destruct, and he's like, every morning he's like, give it another day.
He watches a few rushes and he looks at the button for a while.
Just sinks Hollywood into the ocean.
I'm gonna say I was not scared by the movie. Like the clown didn't scare me. Okay, there's definitely some jump out moments.
Yeah, right.
Right, but for most of the sort of scary parts, and I'm doing that in inverted commas, I feel like I'm just watching it going, I understand that this is supposed to be a scary scene, but I felt like it's kind of just happening. Like there's not that much tension.
I think maybe we're sort of over jump scares because we're expecting them so much. I thought there was some sort of effective, maybe like longer jump scares where there's the jump and then you expect it to cut to black or something else, and then we see more of the terrifying clown coming at you.
Yeah,
I did feel this long sense of I felt at a certain point, sort of through the second act, I just felt this constant sense of this constant sort of feeling of tension because it's one of those movies where anything can turn into a deadly weapon at any moment.
Yeah. I felt a lot of tension.
If you're, you could be holding a tape measure and I'm like, oh, what if the tape measure snaps back and it cuts somebody's thumb off?
Well, that's just the reality with tape measures.
I guess that's true.
That's just, a building site and is a dangerous place, and you need to know how to use your tools, mate.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right.
I think if the whole, because I was there was a lot of tension for me with that tape measure, and I think if there was a whole there was a whole horror film based around tape measures that, you know, like it snaps back, but then it kind of cuts the inside of your hand because you were holding on to it.
Like,
and
then
like
that gets infected.
Yeah, or
and then you reopen the sore on the wound on another tape measure.
Exactly.
Yeah, or you
maybe
just
a set square.
You just need to measure a room by yourself.
Oh,
that is already quite horrific.
Yeah.
Right.
See, the interesting thing is that this movie and the old one as well, it's like I'm trying to work out how much of it is a metaphor, right? Because because it's on the surface it seems like it's very much, oh no, this isn't a metaphor. This isn't like a creepy. There's terror that lurks in the people around you. This is oh no, it's actually a magical being.
Yeah, right.
That's the scary thing, is a magical monster is what you're supposed to be scared of.
And then it sort of went back and forth in the sense of like, oh, but actually everybody's dealing with personal issues.
Right.
So maybe that's a metaphor and they seem to see in Pennywise something that they're concerned about. But then further in it's then like, but it's just a clown again.
No, but it is a clown.
It is definitely a clown.
Actually also a clown.
Yeah. And some characters had their personal issues got much more serious than other people's.
Yeah,
whoa.
Some you know, we'll get to it in a second, but some were like, you know, these life-changing problems, and some were just like, my mum won't let me out after 7 o'clock or whatever.
My dad wants me to read a book.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure one guy was just afraid of a painting.
Yeah,
that's true. He was.
Thing.
Yeah. There was no mention of what that painting represented.
He feared the future and becoming a man.
Of course.
And a painting.
Okay, but that is an interesting thing, and I don't know if I can talk about the old movie without. Is that?
Look,
am I allowed to talk about the old movie?
Let's. You know what? So here on the podcast, our rating system, you guys might know, it's only best movie ever or worst movie ever because there's no nuance on the internet. So, do you guys want to give it a best movie ever or worst movie ever? I'm gonna say best movie ever.
Really?
Yeah, enjoyed it a lot. Had a good time.
Andy?
Yeah, I'd say best movie ever.
Look.
Oh.
Because there were so many moments through it where I was like,
I'm hearing some nuance.
Yeah, because there's so many moments where I was like, come on, like that. I'm gonna have to go worst movie ever.
But you can't say that because you thought the old one was worse.
By
definition.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's also no logic to this.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go worst movie ever, and also I think it gives this a nice balance.
Yeah,
too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So 2 on 1. That's balanced.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, it's spoiler time, guys.
Okay, great.
What do you want to crack
so
into?
the old movie, the old It, right? The guy who has the least scary backstory is the one who deals with it the worst, right? So he's the one who, when they have to go back to the village, kills himself. Right? So that's an interesting thing in terms of like, I don't know if that's in there deliberately, but like that's a comment on resilience or like, you know, your childhood experiences inform your ability to cope with things in the future. But these kids who've had fucking terrible lives, they've got more resilience as a result of the shit that's happened.
So that are you saying that it's kind of it reminds you a bit of Ayn Rand?
Could be Ayn Randy.
A real Ayn Randian situation.
Yeah, Ayn Randian.
Okay, because it's interesting that, you know, one, you know, the token girl of the team, you know, he has a father who's clearly got some sort of weird,
sexy,
situation, not good thing, and you know, she.
Did we deal with that well? I felt like we dealt with that really well.
Yeah, I think that was really good.
I think we covered that off in a sensitive and intelligent way.
Yeah, and then we can
because I was worried about bringing this up, but I'm really happy now that we did it so well.
We're just springing off, and people are going to have a good time. It's going to be great.
Okay.
And then and she kills him.
Did she kill him? I mean, she hit him pretty hard in the head.
I
that doesn't happen in the old movie, and I was interested by that because they definitely amped up her story, made it more explicit in this one, and then obviously the consequences for him were
because later one of the other kids comes back and he's just there in a pool of blood, and I don't think he's moving.
He was twitching a little.
Could have been twitching. I reckon because. Okay, the big spoiler for this, right, is that this is just the first of 2 movies.
Yeah, apparently,
right? Because the old one, Alistair, you had the observation that like, when are they going to stop introducing new characters?
Yeah, so I only got to see the 2/3 of the first movie because I started falling asleep last night, and then I didn't have time today, and my phone broke. Anyway, the important
Enough
thing...
with your excuses.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't see it at all.
But,
I committed to one or the other.
But it was an hour and a half, and I got to about an hour and 5 minutes, and they were still introducing the characters.
Yeah, because they run both timelines simultaneously in the old one, right? It's a bit of the past, and then it's a bit of them in the present, and then a bit of the past, and then a bit in the present, and each time they introduce a new character.
It's a bit more like Lost. Maybe Lost was actually based off the old It movie, and then, so they introduce a character, and then this it's like, oh, here's his episode where you find out his backstory, and then there's a polar bear.
Yeah.
I think that happened in Lost. Is it too late for
but then
Lost references?
This movie, it's like they've been like, well, this'll that's bad filmmaking. Obviously, that's a classic error in the editing room there. They've jumbled it all up. I'll just sort that out into chronological order. There you go. Makes a lot more sense now. But they've only given us the prehistory bit. So this is all set in the past.
Yeah, right.
With when they're young kids. And then it ends after the first time they kill the thing.
Yes.
And I definitely think right now, I mean, like, I don't know whether the second one's already in the works.
It has to be.
I mean, yeah, but it could be like a hip hop music video. They put to be continued at the end.
Right. And then Puffy never comes back.
Yeah, and then there's no Puffy.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess the same thing could be for Pennywise, right? But yeah, I definitely think it's way cleaner just seeing the original. Getting rid of the clown.
Yeah, it did. It did seem. It also look. I enjoyed it, but it did seem a tad too long. It was a touch long.
Yeah.
For
Well,
me.
you imagine how I felt sitting there the whole time, having watched the thing this morning, and being like, "Are they going to go and do all the fucking future bit now?"
Yeah, right. Because it ends with end of chapter 1.
Yeah,
yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, thank God."
Okay, how did you guys feel about the final battle between the kids and Pennywise? Because I thought it was a little anticlimactic, only in the sense that they beat him by just hitting him with sticks for a bit.
Yeah, man. But
why didn't anyone try that before?
And it was a real like, let's beat the shit out of this clown.
Yeah,
thing.
right.
You don't often see that scene in movies. I'm thinking like maybe there was one in the Death Proof, that Quentin Tarantino thing.
They get him out of the car and they
just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Like a magic clown.
Yes. There was a clown, and then another clown comes out of the car, and another clown. It's 40 minutes of beating up clowns.
I mean, that's a Jackie Chan movie right there.
That's
Like,
right. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like for a movie that's all about facing your demons and finally understanding them and coming to terms with it and all that sort of stuff. I just thought it was a little bit odd that at the end they just went, "I'll just hit him with sticks." Why has that never worked before?
Well,
surely somebody would have gotten in a lucky shot in the last 27 years.
Absolutely.
In the old one, though, and that's I reckon is a by virtue maybe of the way films work these days, but also by virtue of the fact that they've turned it into these two movies. They needed to have a big fight scene at the end, right? In the old one, it's just an emotional struggle for them to go down there, and then they shoot him in the head with a thing, right? And he just gets injured and goes down a hole, and then he comes back later on. But because that's not the end of the movie, that's enough, right? Because it keeps on going. And but in this one, we're going to end it here. It's got to be something big. Well, let's have him hit him for 10 minutes.
Let's have all the kids do parkour on this. Yeah. On this clown and beat him up.
Yeah, I think I found it so strange that this magical creature who can shapeshift and things like that does respond to beatings. Like that like a bullet through the head or a big spike through the head and things like that does have an effect on him. So I think that to me didn't really sit well. And then he ends up dying, but is he dying because they're not afraid of him? His whole source of power is their fear, and so maybe their beating on him is just a metaphor.
Oh, it was a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah.
I also was a little confused by that. It felt to me at the end that maybe there were a couple of expository lines that were left on the cutting room floor, because at the end he's like, well, I can just leave. If you all leave, I'm going to eat this kid, and then he won't see me again for 27 years. And then he doesn't eat the kid for the next 3 minutes, and then he dissolves. And I'm like, well, did he
You know when you're really hungry?
Yeah.
I think Al gets like this, like when you're super hungry, like, and you're just like, that's it, I can't function anymore. I need food right
just
now.
dissolved.
Or forget about it.
Yeah. And so
it felt to me like it was missing a line where they're like, okay, if he doesn't eat in the next 5 minutes.
But he's also been catching heaps of kids and eating them.
Yeah, so yeah.
And also making a lot of them float.
Yeah, I enjoyed the one thing that I enjoyed was when the new kid in town, he kisses the girl and she wakes up, and then I'm like, is he going to have to do that to all the kids? Yeah. Is there going to be a scene after the credits where he has to drag all the kids out of the floating thing and just kiss them all to wake them up?
Is it just me, or is that a tiny bit problematic?
Yeah.
like kissing unconscious girls.
Well, apparently the novel is a lot weirder.
Sure.
There's
But he wrote that on cocaine, and it was a different time. You know,
very true.
But this is well, they've said it in the past, right? Today's rules still apply in terms of I got questions. He didn't know that was going to wake her up. He was just kissing an unconscious girl.
That's true.
And it's a tough situation though. At this point, you think that somebody's maybe died. And you're gonna try anything. Obviously, first.
Yeah, but the first thing.
First you hug. First you say, "Hey, are you there?" Second you hug him. Then you kiss him on the mouth. That's essentially CPR.
Dr. ABC. Danger response. Kiss on the lips. Airway breathing circulation.
The next step was gonna be CPR. Like he was gonna get her down, just start doing staying alive. That's the rate. Okay, great. I'm just making sure. Yeah, I guess it would, in a way, it's kind of morally wrong that he didn't get down all the kids and start kissing them to bring them back to life. Because they said all the kids are coming down, but then...
Yeah, we didn't see are they all rotten or something when they get down? Is Georgie up there? Has he bled out?
Yeah, what happened? Because he was... Were the kids corpses or was just Georgie a corpse?
Don't know.
Because that kid was shot right in the head. But he was also it.
Yeah.
So he was masquerading... It was masquerading as a kid, so I guess Georgie is still in the...
Yeah, I think he was still in the sky. And I gotta say, that thing at the beginning, the scene with Georgie, where he bites off the arm.
Yes.
That, I was like, because that was like, this is a familiar scene. You've definitely seen this in the old movie. It's exactly the same scene. But then they're like, by the way, we're not fucking around in this movie.
Yeah,
right.
Like you didn't see the blood from that. You didn't see that happen in the old one. And this one, it's like, oh no, you're going to see a kid with his arm ripped off, crawling, crying across the road.
Yeah.
This ain't your grandma's It movie.
Yeah, and I mean, like in the first movie, they do show that scene, they see the girl see the Pennywise, and then it's implied that she dies, but you do see her taken away in a stretcher, and that like a kid in a body bag is pretty intense. It's almost as intense as somebody getting their arm bitten off. Maybe it's just as speaking as a father.
There we go. Finally, some real insights. God.
As a father, do you think kids should have their arms ripped off? Because, I think a lot of people who aren't fathers probably don't have a strong opinion on the issue.
No, I wouldn't. I don't care.
Yeah,
the other, if I'm honest.
He's just sitting over there looking at his phone.
That's right. I'm looking at gifs of kids having their arms torn off.
And laughing.
Laughing like it's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, I think that in the middle of the film, there was like, they went back one few too many times just for everybody to get scared again. Like for each of the characters to get scared again. That like they probably could have trimmed about 15 minutes at least of the movie of like, because it's like now they're all getting scared alone, now they're getting scared together, and now they're getting scared a second time together.
I mean, obviously, right, part of Pennywise, by the way, Pennywise would have been a great name for a hardware store. Like it's a real thrifty link.
True, yeah.
Pennywise.
Yeah.
Anyway, missed opportunity, I reckon.
But would you rather have an encounter with Pennywise, the demonic clown,
or Thrifty Link, the demonic?
Yeah, I was gonna say, or a massive fan of the punk band Pennywise who's gonna talk your ear off about all their albums.
Oh man!
Bearing in mind, you can beat either of them to death with a pipe if you really want to.
The Pennywise fans of the band, they also can be killed just by hitting them with a metal rod. Mm-hmm.
They also feed off your fear.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. So Pennywise, obviously, he obviously feeds off fear, right? Because he never just kills someone straight away. You got to scare him a fair bit first. Although that being said, Georgie wasn't scared at the point at which he bit him. He was just being nice to him. I'm just confused about the logic of like how much you got to scare the kids, because there was a lot of time wasting in some of the scaring bits. If he wants to eat him, he could have just eaten.
I think he was scared in a general sense because he was scared that Billy would be mad at him about the boat, and he was also scared in a general sense of the clown, I think.
Right,
which
so
is probably enough.
Just general anxiety.
Just general
can also
anxiety
feed on that.
Yeah.
So like stock market down at Wall Street when the brokers have just when the numbers are going down, he'd feast on those guys. So I feel economic anxiety.
Maybe maybe in the next one. If all the characters just take a whole bunch of Xanax before they fight it,
that is
they'll
perfect.
be fine. That generally they'll be okay.
Just chillers. And the message there is that recreational drug use will solve your childhood trauma
from mythical creatures.
Yeah, interesting.
I found it weird, like that first time they go into that sort of the final boss house. at the first time they go in, when you kind of really find out that he feeds off of fear, right? And that, and then they're all as a group and they kind of fight him off for the first time. He gets a spike through the head. And then he kind of just starts backing away. Like, he kind of still looks happy, but he's clearly just retreating.
Yeah, right.
Right? And then you kind of see him go down as well and things like that. And I think that moment comes across as just, I don't know, just a very, very, like I don't know, it's
a bit weak.
It's a bit weak, or it's like he's still kind of smiling, but he's just like, okay, see you later. Like, and it's not as it definitely makes him come across as quite a weak character. And also in his well, he has a second well in which he goes into.
That's true, he does. Yeah. Maybe there's another well in that.
Yeah, and what would that well have been used for?
The well within the well.
Yeah, like if that well was filled with water, how could you go down there and go get more water?
That's true.
Out of yet another well.
Yeah. And would you get your water from a well, or would you just dig another regular-sized well in a place where there's sort of an aquifer or whatever?
And no clowns.
Yeah.
These are all good questions,
aren't they? We're not going to answer them.
The other big issue with this... Okay, here's an interesting factoid that people might notice.
I'm ready.
Is that the old It movie,
yes,
it's every 30 years, right? It comes back. But this one, they said every 27 years. Why did they say that? Because the old It movie came out in 1990, and this is 27 years since that thing.
I love a fun little...
It's a fun little
nugget.
Little nod. At the time when I noticed it, I was like, why isn't it 30? Because they said 30 in the old one. And they're like,
Yeah. They also might be implying that...
they're going to make another one of these movies in 27 years.
And also potentially that Pennywise is responsible for the 27 Club.
Wow.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette. No, not
Yes.
Somebody's got to tell her management.
I mean, Janis
you got to stop
Joplin.
dragging her out, guys. She's long gone.
Well, she finished. Yeah,
I think she's touring at the moment, touring Australia.
Yeah, no, but she was really finished at 27.
Wow. ASIO's going to hear this, and you are going to get called in for a meeting.
Man. Do ASIO listen to Weekly Planet? I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did. Hey,
they probably have an algorithm that listens to it.
Yeah.
They listen for Alanis Morissette, and Alistair Tremblay-Birchall is going to kill Alanis Morissette. That particular phrase.
Those are clear keywords that it feels like they had to pre-program. They had to sort of predict that.
I wonder how many of your viewing statistics are just various secret intelligence organizations' algorithms downloading. Do secret intelligence algorithms buy movement watches? That's my question.
Gosh, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all do well out of that, wouldn't we?
I mean, we get a lot of like downloads from like vans parked outside our house.
Yeah.
So
I've been checking the locations on Libsyn.
Just says vans.
The downloads are coming from within the house. The children. The children are listening to your podcast.
Oh, delightful.
Which
That's
is nice.
Fun.
Yeah,
That's
It's important, Dad. The other thing, obviously, about this, right, is that this.
We'll see how obvious it is.
The old one took place in 1950 and 1980s, right?
Yep.
So, and then this one takes place in the 1980s, right? But if they're going to make another one in 27 years, it will not work, because then this time now will have to be the past.
Yep.
And in this past, kids do not spend that much time out alone on the streets.
There's some satire for you.
Yes, thank you. I was
saving it up.
I've been sitting on that for a while. But it is like, not even from a satire point of view, it's just amazing to see kids just out like that.
Yeah. Imagine seeing more than like one person on a bike, like together, and they're not wearing weird cycling uniform. Just two children,
no helmets,
riding bicycles for fun.
Yeah.
Can you imagine it? I can't.
Not in this day and age. They're inside playing computer games.
Yes. Yeah.
And
what if they're Pokemon going?
Oh, there you go. If they
wow, so that in the next the kids will be out playing Pokemon Go
in 2016, 17.
It's actually really, really good.
Yeah, and surely by then,
and then it'll be a cultural touchstone. We'll be like, well, I remember that reference.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that video games do keep you away from sewers.
That's true.
But I mean, you guess,
unless there's a good Charizard
down there. Could be a Charizard down there. That's the natural habitat of the Charizard.
Or if you're playing Mario Brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah, you're always going into sewers there.
Actually, from Pennywise's point of view, Pokemon Go would be really, I imagine, quite good, right?
Guys,
could he hack into it? Well, in the next one, Pennywise will be a hacker who hacks into Pokemon Go to lure kids down sewers.
He already hacks reality, so I reckon
a
video game is
he
part
already
of
essentially
reality.
has unlimited power.
Yeah, where he can.
No, I want to see the scene where he's at his computer.
Yeah,
actually, and the numbers are going down the screen.
Yeah, he's got Twitter bots. And he's luring children.
The scariest part in
Hacking an
the
election.
oldest film, at least the part that I'd seen, was just when he opens up the old photo album of Georgie, and it's just that gray photo of Georgie, and he like winks or something like
little
that.
wink.
That was definitely the scariest thing
Freaked
for
you out.
me in the old It, and in the new It, they cut that. They cut what could have been the best spook. I know in like comedies you're looking for a laugh, but in the I guess
looking for a spook.
You're looking for a
A
spook.
spookadook.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a spookadook.
Other than that, like a lot of it was very similar. Like I was particularly aware that it's really like it's the same movie. I mean, it's half of the movie,
Right.
But it's really the same.
So if
The
you were
scariest.
if you were a big fan of the original, would you recommend people see?
Yeah,
new
I
one?
think so.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
If you've never seen either of them, would you recommend they see the new one or the old one?
Yeah, go see the new one.
No, see the old one because then at least you're watching a cultural touchstone, right? Like you're watching a thing that was, and also it's not as scary because it's the past, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I would just say watch the new one because it's more tolerable. You know.
You won't fall asleep at an hour and 5 minutes in.
Yeah, and like at least the spook technology, you know, like
Yes.
like
Yep.
it's because you know, like you're saying, we're predicting jump out scares,
Yeah.
and so people are kind of getting clever, and it's they're double faking it.
Yeah, there's a lot of double takes. There's a lot of scary double takes
Yeah, it's
now.
like this is where the spook should be, and then they go, oh no, there's no spook, and then you turn around, "Bah!" like that, or you know, there's like a third level to that.
So that
It was really excruciating watching the movie with this guy. He's always like, "Brr."
but then like that just paves the way forward for horror movies to be just like extra levels of no, that's not the spook. Oh no, but
Yeah.
that's not the spook either. That's not the spook. Ah, that's the spook. And like in 20 years' time, there's like 18 fake spooks before you get to the spook.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the year after that, it's just back to regular spook.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that'd be great actually because people wouldn't even tune in until about spook 15 or something, and then you get them.
Would you enjoy a movie that's just 2 hours of double take potential spooks and you never actually get one? And at the end of the movie you go, well, that was weird and I'm feeling really tense, and then you leave the cinema and then like a cinema employee is like, hey,
Look, I would definitely go see that movie, or at least that employee.
Yeah.
You leave the cinema and the cinema employee says your car's been towed. Yeah,
no. Yeah, as an adult, I feel if they really want to grip me with a sense of dread from minute one, it would be the first scene of the movie. Like somebody gets a letter and it reveals that they've forgotten to pay their car registration.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. And I'd spend the whole movie going, oh God, has it been a year or more than a year? They don't give you the sticker anymore. Do I have $800 to spend on this right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that
Or
would
like,
be terrifying.
Or just finding out you've lost your driver's license and you have to go through the whole I
Yeah,
gotta
right.
find my
Oh,
birth
the bureaucracy.
certificate and all that kind of crap. You have to go down to your local thing where you go register your. You get it.
yeah. The DMV.
we say the
DMV.
DMV because Australians translate automatically.
Yeah, great.
and
Yeah,
Americans know
we're
what we're
really
talking
good,
about.
but they don't have a clue what the RACV is or whatever the thing is.
Neither do you apparently.
Yeah, it's the wrong thing, but whatever. The
Vic Roads.
UAI.
I think that the
You're thinking of the United Arab Emirates. That's not where we get. That's not where we get our driver's license. In fact, many people can't get their driver's license there. So.
got to go down to the UAE to renew my boat license.
Abu Dhabi.
For me, the scariest thing in the old movie was the low quality of the guy's stand-up set on Carson or whatever he was doing.
Oh my God!
Oh, is there? I
yeah,
have
there's
no
a
memory of
stand-up
that.
comedy set that is bafflingly bad.
Yeah, well,
and it goes really well for him in the thing. We're supposed to think, oh wow, that guy's at the top of his game.
Oh, interesting.
It is the worst.
Yeah.
Okay,
bit of
but
comedy.
so you guys are both stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
More or less.
If you were not a stand-up comic, would you think it was good?
No, there is
Okay.
no way.
Yeah, I think it's that classic in a film where you was somebody kind of goes, and then I said, look at that beard on that woman, like that kind of thing, and then everybody laughs. But it's like that, but with multiple
Wait.
lines.
But imagine a beard on a woman. See? Pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's working for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's speaking of beards, just quickly. when you are watching the It movie, watch out for Nick Mason's cameo.
Make a little cameo. In there. Yeah.
There is I want to say a 30-foot statue of Nick Mason in the movie, which I thought was a really nice of them to do that for you.
That was nice, yeah.
It's a real good
They actually
nod.
they actually personalize it live for one person.
Wow,
one lucky
in the
winner
cinema.
in every screening gets a
That's
gets a
beautiful.
statue of them in the town square. So because you know how like when a doctor watches a movie about medicine and they go, oh, that's inaccurate, that makes no sense or what have you. So you're saying just as a layman would be like, that's a terrible stand-up.
This would be like if you watched a movie about medicine and the person comes into the operating theater and the doctor is hitting them with a hammer.
right.
Yeah, I actually would love to find a way to like play it. Like I guess this is a YouTube video you can make to play it and then try to build from those pieces that they show you what the whole stand-up set would be so that it would make sense.
Yeah.
Because he is getting huge laughs from like a studio audience, which aren't known for being the
Easiest.
the easiest crowds either, with lines that make near to no sense.
So you don't see the whole thing; you just see snippets.
Yeah,
Okay,
you just see a
Alright.
little like minute snippet, and that's sort of that's the aged Seth Green in that movie.
And in the movie, in the modern version, instead of that, we get little snippets, which I quite like, little snippets of some sort of child's show, which implied that it was telling people to jump down in the sewers and meet their death. That was
That's a
fun.
bit creepy.
That was super fun, I thought. Yeah.
That's fun.
It's a nice
Yeah.
addition. That also Pennywise also controls the TV networks.
Yeah.
He controls the media.
Where he hacked in.
Yeah, he hacked
Ah, okay. Yeah. You've
Quite
laid,
possibly
you've
to
laid
the
some
mainframe.
groundwork. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. All right. Have we talked about it enough? I think we have.
in. We've talked about it enough.
You tell me.
Let's go to our next segment, the famous segment, what we read and what we're going to read. And then we pause, and then James inserts a theme song.
I'm doing the thing. What are we reading today?
And we've heard the theme song, and it's been a delight.
Thank
Unless
you,
he
James.
forgets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Round of
So
applause.
in our famous segment, we do you guys have anything you've been watching or reading or listening to that you'd recommend?
Oh, you guys all have like cool things. I've been listening to the Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History podcast.
Oh, yes.
He's been talking a lot about civil rights, and it's very interesting, and makes you feel bad about a lot of stuff in the old history.
Well, that sounds unpleasant. I'm
Yeah.
not going to listen to it.
Okay. No, it's amazing. Also, he's got a funny voice.
Does he really? I've never
Yeah,
heard
he
Malcolm Gladwell
really
speak.
sounds like he takes himself seriously. I love
I
it.
see, right.
Yeah. But yeah,
He's all about 10,000 hours of something, right?
Yeah, that was his big thing, and Alistair and I reference that a lot because
Yeah.
we only have about 2 references that we know, and
Yeah,
we use
I
them
think I've-
constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that and the Buddha.
How much time is 10,000 hours?
Well, look, it's 10,000
Yes.
of a unit of time that we call an hour.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
I'm familiar with hours
I guess
as,
it's
a,
like
as a
it's
concept.
like 10 hours a day for about 500 days, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So
exactly.
it's the movie 500 Days of Summer is based on that.
Yeah,
Based on that book.
no, it's 500 days of summer multiplied by 27 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So it's
So
yeah,
meet
it's,
Zooey
it's,
Deschanel, cut your arm off. you know,
yeah, exactly, and then get broken up with by a boulder, something like
Okay,
that.
I
don't
love
know,
it.
I didn't quite.
Nice.
I almost exclusively at the moment just watch stand up because I feel like it's the only way I can hide away, like just get half an hour or whatever. So
Yep.
I watched the stand ups on Netflix.
There's a lot. There's like for a while there was like one a week, right? There was a new one every week.
Yeah, and they're still doing pretty much that because they just have such a back catalog. But the other thing that I've been listening to a lot of is my friend internet celebrity Beck Petraeus.
Oh yes.
And our other friend Jack Druce's podcast, The Friendship Mates.
Friendship Mates, right?
And it's a problem solving podcast where they'll answer questions and give advice. Whatever advice you need answered.
There you go. And it's
That
recorded in
is-
this very studio.
It is
one would
recorded in
assume.
this very studio.
Yeah. I'm probably absorbing some residual arse warmth from one or both of them.
Probably both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
both.
Like to-
They share one cheek each
That's
on,
right.
on the seat.
On one seat. That's
delightful.
how good a person they are.
How connected they are, how close they are.
They're very connected through asses.
Yeah.
Through their asses.
Well, anyway,
what have you been listening
speaking
to?
of Netflix, the new season of BoJack Horseman is out. Today. So
I stopped watching after the second season.
why did you do that?
How
Too
is
depressing?
the third season? Yeah, it was pretty. It was making me
It's
pretty
also
sad.
depressing.
It was like the end of the second season. It was beautiful. There was this amazing scene with him driving on the boat back to
That's right, yeah.
town. I was like, that is so beautiful, but I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. Do you think you'll get back into it?
No. I
enough.
don't
Yeah.
look back. I will read the synopsis on Wikipedia,
Yeah.
and that'll be enough for me.
Look, I'll watch a couple of episodes of this new one, and I'll get back to you. I mean, he's due for a. They're all due for
A lift?
A lift of some sort, aren't they? Yeah.
Something's got to come good.
Yeah, I think so. That's true. Yeah.
He's going to lose an arm,
Oh man. A hoof.
a wing.
Yeah.
It's a reference to our podcast.
Is he a Pegasus?
He's a Pegasi.
No. I haven't seen any BoJack.
It's pretty good. It's
Yeah.
good fun. It's Will Arnett as the voice of BoJack.
Yeah, right.
It's good.
Yeah.
It is. The first two seasons were amazing.
Yeah.
All I know about it is that the writer of BoJack Horseman at one point went on some kind of Twitter like story. You know, people go into their they start writing stories, and he was talking about it was a big story about how Marge Simpson doesn't have any friends.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was just looking at The Simpsons and said that she's dedicated entirely to her family. Like, look, he's managed to make The Simpsons sad. See what he's done?
Yeah.
He's taken a cartoon series that everyone likes and then made it unwatchably sad. Yeah. Well done.
It's his
season 2 all
signature
over again.
move. Good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raphael Bob Waksberg or
Bob
whatever your name is.
Waksberg.
Yeah, good. It's yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, get into that.
Yeah.
All right, we got another segment. We got one more segment.
Oh yeah,
Great.
great.
It's called Letters. And what we do, I don't know if you've ever, you're aware.
Oh, yeah.
James refuses to edit in the Letters theme every week. He's done with themes at this point, so I have to
That's
play
great.
it. Have to play it from my phone.
And now, is it him singing that theme? Because it sounds a bit like it could be his voice. You probably haven't even heard it because.
I have to play it live.
oh,
so,
letters,
yeah, no, it's
we love you.
it's someone from the internet.
Oh wow, because
Yeah.
it sounds they've sung it in James's voice. I feel like, which I think is a really nice touch of that.
Like a chameleon, but for voice. But anyway, so normally I have some time pressure to do that. James is on my back about it. But now I can take all the time I need. Just
so
really,
we'll
I
just
can
sit here in
settle into it.
silence,
Yeah.
so
Okay,
you can
if
do
you
this in comfort.
Okay,
We
let's-
have
here we
really
go.
low
I'm
expectations.
on
for you.
4G, guys, so it should go fairly briskly. Let's see what happens. It's thinking. I've clicked it.
Oh, this is going to be so good when it
Really.
happens.
The classic one was letters, oh letters, we love you. Some letters, they're only a day away. Hang on, they're here right now. We're gonna do letters.
That's really great, and I love that you play it from YouTube.
Yeah. So if I have no connection, I'm rather stuck.
Yeah, that's great. You should get it on. You should put it up on Spotify so that you can download it onto your phone.
Yeah, that would be a really good
things
point.
like that.
Yeah.
And then you can also get listens, and that'll probably start bringing in some nice.
I
Sweet
should be
pennies.
clear. We're all on. Thanks to Claire from Planet Broadcasting, we're all on Spotify. We don't get any money for that.
Oh, I was wondering.
No, never.
Okay, well, that's
never
good
get
to
any-
know.
We'll never get any money.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Yeah. So anyway, this is from Julio Vargas. You can, if you want to email in, you can email weeklyplanetpod@gmail.com. If you want to say hi, you can also say hi on Twitter if you'd like. This is from Julio Vargas. He's from Puerto Rico, and he just saw
Cool.
it. He says it's the best remake he's ever seen.
Wow.
Would you agree, guys?
I mean, fuck, it's putting me on the spot. I had to think of other remakes.
That's
that
right.
I've
I'll
seen.
finish the rest of the letter. Great acting, great visuals and tone. Visual effects, not so much, he says. Unfortunately, I had to see it dubbed in Spanish, so he might have lost some of the essence of the film. Do you guys enjoy dubbed films, or would you rather see it in the original language? Dub or sub, babies?
I would probably. I'm a sub guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if it's like anime, I like it. I like just hearing that in English because
Yeah.
I just, I just want to watch it.
I don't know. There's some. I think maybe now dubs are better, but
Yeah.
there's some stuff that I saw. Like there's a lot of anime from like the 80s and the 90s, which is considered classics, like Akira and Ghost in the Shell and these kind of
Yeah.
things, where I saw it at the time dubbed, and going back to it, I'm like, this is some of the worst dubbing I've ever heard in my life. It's just so clunky, and it's so they've had to squeeze in. They've just clearly directly translated and just
Right.
squeezed it in wherever they could find it, and so it's really weirdly placed and.
But mostly, like a lot of anime, the mouths are just sort of flapping holes, right?
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't really matter that much. You just try and
but
say something
I
while the
guess
hole
that's true.
flaps.
But it's also kind of like a lot of the time the acting's kind of flat because it was just like a
Yeah,
job
right,
at the
just
time.
somebody
And just like,
reading it
okay,
out.
say the lines and get out kind of thing. We got more to do. We got Voltron to do in a minute. So if you could just
It's crazy to think they're still making anime. Like they're still making it, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
it's this whole like universe of content that I'm not even touching, and there's more than I could ever. They're probably making more every year that I could watch in my lifetime.
That's true. Look, if I can give you one recommendation, I'm not an anime guy at all, but one thing I really enjoyed, it's called One Punch Man. And it's about
I've heard about
it's
that.
about a superhero who trains so hard that now he's completely unbeatable, and now he's really depressed.
Oh, wow.
Because he's unbeatable. It's kind of like the BoJack Horseman
Yeah.
of kung fu
But
anime.
does his depression make him sort of put on weight and spend a lot of time at home and lose his tone so that he becomes beatable again?
No, that never happens.
Oh.
He's reached a peak, and it's sort of flipped a switch, and he'll never not be a peak. At his peak.
That's not true. There's no peak you can reach beyond which you can't then continue to destroy your body
guess
through
that's true.
neglect.
Now, luckily, he's going to age.
Yep.
And he's going to start getting beaten, and then he's going to become happy again once he starts getting the
That's
shit
very
kicked out of
true.
him.
You're right.
Beat the happy into him. There's so much anime out there. Is anime going to be the next like comic books? Because at the moment, comic books are like everyone was like, oh my god, there's this enormous resource of amazing stories that everybody loves. Let's turn some of them into films, and now that's every film. So is
Yeah.
anime going to be the next one
We're
of those?
sort of heading into that, but reactions so far have been mixed to poor.
Right.
Like there was a Ghost in the Shell American
I didn't
remake.
see.
Well, that had Scarlett Johansson as Major Motoko Kusanagi. So
Interesting.
So that was an interesting twist. They sort of tried to get around it. They were like, okay, she was originally Japanese, and then they put her into the a Scarlett Johansson robot body. So they were like, we'll put a little twist, and nobody will mind. It'll
Oh,
be
you
fine.
got us. Good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And they also there's an anime called Death Note, which was recently released, like an American version on
Yeah, right.
Netflix.
Oh, I've seen the picture of that.
Yeah, opinions are mixed on that, but there's always some. The issue is often that it's Japanese characters, and they port them over to America, and they just whitewash the whole cast, and there's always some issues there. So,
But there were quite a few comic book movies, sort of bubbling away before this latest thing hit, right? So it'll probably be the same thing with someone will get one right. And then
finally,
it'll be
yeah.
on for young and old.
Yes.
It's kind of like communism, it's not until you see somebody do it right that people will start believing in it.
That's very true.
and we're big communists here on the Weekly
Well,
Planet.
this yeah, absolutely. We're
Sorry, James, but this is now a communist podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Look, I
In
just
your
want-
absence, there's been a coup.
Yeah.
I just want
To
you to
each
know.
a movement watch according to his needs.
But just for James's peace of mind, I want you to know that this is a standalone podcast, and it's not affecting the narrative of all the other
That's
Weekly
very true,
Planet podcasts.
Yeah.
Here's one of those for Harry's. 5 blades good, 2 blades bad.
Very nice.
Yeah, good work.
Good work there. Let me see. I'll find usually James finds some. Look, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna find a couple more letters.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
And these pauses will be
Presumably left in.
doubled.
Yeah,
great.
double it length sometimes. This is from Flaming Wolf. He's emailed in. What do you think about John Krasinski as Green Lantern? John
Oh.
Krasinski is Jim Halpert on The Office.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, as the superhero Green Lantern. He's bigger than you'd think.
Now, will this be their third crack at Green Lantern?
This will be the second crack.
Okay, right.
Because there was a standalone with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Which was awful.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say my favourite part of that movie, there's a scene where he uses a giant green fist to punch like just a random dude into space and he never comes back. Like he's just fighting some thugs in like some drunk guys in like a car park, and he just he accidentally punches one with a green fist and he never comes down. So we assume he went to space.
His
guy's-
head
Wow.
exploded,
Yeah, head
in
exploded
the
in space.
vacuum.
And the second one was the Gondry one. Was that with Seth Rogen?
Oh yeah, that's Green Hornet.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
apologize.
you
What a
idiot.
fool! That's a classic guest on the Weekly Planet mistake.
What a faux pas!
He
you've made
he
there.
lays that trap every
Every
single
time,
time.
that's right.
And people fall
Yeah.
into it. I saw it. I saw
Yeah.
that trap. I was like, I
That's
see what
right.
you're doing
Can't
there,
believe you
Mason.
did
You're
it.
bringing up the green films.
Good sidestepping.
Yeah. The Green Mile, is that one of them?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, okay.
See, Andy knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
Love that movie.
Look, how do I feel about that?
Yep. You don't have to feel anything. You can feel nothing.
I
okay.
think it's really interesting to have that guy play a superhero.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah. And Al?
Look, I have no opinion. I didn't get a chance to watch The Office or this news.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Does the Green Lantern, do you picture him to be a really athletic, toned, You know, what's the picture
Well,
of the
there's-
iconic
Well,
Green
the
Lantern for you?
iconic Green Lantern is a guy called Hal Jordan, who was like a plane test pilot, and he's like a fearless like ex Air Force man. So, but
Well,
here's
then
the thing:
that-
like
yeah.
I think John Krasinski could achieve that look because he's big and he's broad, and like if you don't give him such a dopey haircut,
Yeah.
you
Is
know,
he going to look at the camera a lot? That's what I want to know. Are we going to see him react to it? Like whenever the bad guy makes some kind of a snarky joke about the fate of humanity.
Yeah.
Is he going to then look at the camera and there's just going to be a pause?
Yeah. A lot of green pranks around the
Yeah.
office. just some sort of green laser turret in the photocopier.
Pranks. Love it.
Yeah.
What sort of a system do you have these letters filed under?
Just random.
Just the
in
email
Gmail.
inbox,
Just in
just
Gmail.
open
Yep.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
What are you using? You using Inbox or are you using Gmail?
Using
Old school?
Gmail app. Yeah,
Gmail app.
Just the
Yeah,
regular
okay.
app.
that's
Good
the one I
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, I'm on the Inbox app now. I think it's better.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit of a cleaner interface, a little bit easier to.
Is it also
navigate.
made by Google?
Yeah, it's Google. It's their thing as well. So like, I'm still within the Google universe.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Can I just transfer over my Gmails to?
Absolutely.
Oh, well.
Yeah, no, you don't
Should I
even
do
have
it
to
now?
transfer it.
I'll do
It's
it now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
All right,
I'll do
talk
it
you
now.
through
Just
it.
install the app. Okay. Let's see.
Are they mostly just obscene photographs of
Oh, absolutely.
people's?
Yeah.
Do you
Rude.
Well, this
get
one says
rude
10
bits.
lusty ways of getting your groove back. It might be spam.
No. Lusty ways.
Yeah.
that's a sin, lust.
Yeah. But getting your groove back
Uh-huh.
is a virtue.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
It's very true.
So I guess it's about you got to travel through mud in order to get to I don't know what's something
Here's a
that's
good
better
question.
than mud.
This
Great.
is from Joshua Taylor from the UK. Wants to know, he watched a movie called Origin of Evil, which is set in the 60s and filmed like it's in the 60s. So the pictures has like flicker spots and like it has the technique.
Yeah,
what do you
right.
think is that as an idea? Do you think more films could use this technique depending on the era they're set in?
I think that is a bad idea. That just brings to mind like the early 2000s when people were making student films and they would use that iMovie filter thing that made it look like an old movie with those lines that go across the screen and that sepia tone, and it just like I've made those movies. It feels like a bad idea to me.
Yeah, I think it's a great desire, but I think it's going to make films hugely more expensive because film is super expensive.
Yeah,
It's
that's
super
true, yeah.
expensive, and it's not as easy to edit and all that kind of garbage.
But have they made it for real on the old film stock, or have they just made it digitally?
I think they've made it digitally.
Yeah.
This
right.
is a Ouija Origin of Evil is like I think it's like a found footage horror film.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be.
Oh, right.
It's all Adobe Premiere and adding in the.
Okay,
That-
right.
yeah, it
I
doesn't-
thought you were saying that they found old cameras as well, and they went and filmed it in like it was the exact same technology.
Which
they
I
were using in
respect.
the
I think
60s.
that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Sometimes
but-
that's been done, like the TV series Firefly. A lot of that was filmed on sort of old 70s camera because it was meant to be like a Western in space.
Yeah, right.
So they had to get sort of older cameras that you could get lens, like a real lens flare and stuff like that because modern cameras were just,
Too good.
too good.
It'd be great if they also got the old cameramen, right, and dragged
Yeah,
them out
right.
and all these people in wheelchairs sort of rolling around,
Oh yeah, and
losing.
if they got those kind of old movie making sensibilities that made all the old movies so bad, and why we don't want to
Yeah,
watch them.
Yeah,
if they
right.
did that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bring
Yeah.
out all of that
They
stuff.
could just say their opinions at any moment and they have to put it in the film. Well, see, I've often had this thought about. We spoke about Tarantino's Death Proof, earlier in the show, that he made what was ostensibly like a 1970s kind of grindhouse exploitation film.
Yeah.
And it was it was meant to appear like a film from that era, but he put in the digital grain and all that sort of stuff. And it was also, he made it on a multi-million-dollar budget.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I would much prefer to have him make a movie, like make him like a, how there's like a Sharknado or a Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus kind of thing. I'd give him $1 million and say, what can you make with this kind of thing?
Yeah,
You know
that
what I
would
mean?
that would be beautiful. Yeah,
Maybe-
because like to see him like scrimping. Is that what you have to do? Yeah.
Yeah, scrimping.
But I feel like you would have to pay him a lot of money to get him to scrimp.
Right, exactly.
I
Yeah.
think he's
Yeah. Here's $100 million. You may use one of it for the film.
make
The
the
rest
movie.
you can keep.
I
No
think
cheating.
There should be more challenging directors.
Yeah, I agree.
Like just like here, you have a week to make a
right.
film with
Yep.
$1 million. You can use whoever you can afford for that money, and you got to use old Hagrid the Horrible cartoons storylines.
Well, so all we could that includes being able to afford the rights of Hagar the Horrible.
Hagar the Horrible, yeah.
Hagar the Horrible. Sorry, Hagrid the Horrible is that
Crossover.
version in Harry Potter films. That's what's in their newspapers.
A movie that I saw that was made in that way was the movie No, which was about the democracy campaign in Chile in like the 70s, and it was all done. It was actually filmed with old VHS things, and it just has come back to my mind, and that was actually really cool. So I liked that one. So maybe I've changed my mind.
Is there anybody in like a flying suit of armor or like a
Yeah, but it's a 70s flying suit of armor.
Oh,
so-
not interested.
Oh,
Ugh,
yeah.
no,
Yuck.
no, thank you. No.
It's not like the sort of the squirrel suits of these days. Like back in those days, they used to make it out of like chainmail.
The 70s. What was the fabric in the 70s? Chainmail.
The Black Plague. They used to make it out of the Black Plague. in the
Plague and
70s.
racism.
Yeah, pretty good.
Oh, imagine something made out of the Black Plague and racism. That doesn't sound very good.
Unpleasant. Yeah.
That sounds like a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Hagrid.
Anyway, that's the show for this week, I think.
Nice.
Guys, thanks for being on the show. and
thank you
helping
so
me put it
much.
together.
It was a real pleasure.
Yeah.
And it was
What are you guys up to? What do you guys want to plug? Tell me about some stuff.
I'll tell you what I'd like to plug. I'd like to plug our podcast, Two in the Think Tank,
Oh, my
which is
goodness.
going to have a very special guest very, very soon.
Very soon.
And
some
I
people
think you'll
know.
like them.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's Nick Mason.
Well, you're wrong. I don't like him.
Oh no.
That's
That was-
why I do all of this, because I don't like myself.
Well, it's nice to keep talking just to keep yourself out of your head.
That's
That was a
very
really
true, yeah.
it-level amount of suspense that we had just then. Alistair was
Yeah.
like, who's it going to be? It's a killer clown. Here
Yeah.
he is.
Here he
Look
is.
at him.
Yeah, and he's
Who's
great.
it going to be? It's Nick Mason.
He actually appears in the movie, so it's nice to kind of
Yeah.
have
Right,
that
yeah.
tie-in. Yeah, so that's basically what we'd like to plug, I think.
Nice. You got any dates?
Yeah,
Touring dates?
as
Recording
part
a
of the
thing? Doing a
Fringe
thing?
Festival, as part of the
Yeah.
Melbourne Fringe Festival. So anybody in Melbourne, I'm me and Matt Stewart from Do Go On.
Yeah,
are
he's been on this podcast, and I've been on his podcast.
Well, God, are you hobnobbers?
And he's been on your podcast.
Yeah.
Look at you hobbing knobs, left, right, and
That's
centre.
right. Can't stop hopping him.
Yeah, we're doing a show at Melbourne Fringe from the 13th to the 20th in North Melbourne, and it is called Al and Matt Go Havies.
Very
and we're
nice.
just splitting an hour stand up and,
Very
and
nice.
talking to each other as well.
Can I, this is highly unorthodox, but can I plug my wife's show at the Fringe Festival?
Yes, you may.
She's doing a show called Pea Stick, which is a really, really funny one-woman musical play that she has written and is performing.
There you go.
Yes.
What about you, Nick? Do you have anything you want to plug?
Nah,
Nothing?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's Carly Milroy who's doing
I
that
was gonna
play,
say
by
it's
the way.
Carly Milroy.
Carly
There you go,
Milroy,
yeah.
Pea Stick. All right.
Very good.
You got nothing.
Check it
Nick.
out on melbournefringe.com.au. A very
yes.
bad website. One of the worst websites I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're on planetbcasting.com. You wanna check out all the sorts of stuff that's happening. Sign up to our newsletter. If
Yeah,
you want.
check out-
you guys. Just you two in the room.
Who writes the newsletter?
It's our friend Robert Collings from America.
He is great.
He's good. It's really every time I
What a
look at
legend.
it, I'm like, man, we do a lot of stuff on this network.
He is relentless in how productive and kind and giving to this industry
Absolutely.
he's doing. And so yeah, check out the Weekly Planet. It's a great podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Check out Do Go On and Two in the Think Tank and all the others. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. You guys are on the social medias?
Yep. I'm at Alistair TB on Twitter.
I'm at Stupid Old Andy, and we are at Two in Tank.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very nice. Let's see. I'm at Wikipedia Brown. If you want to contact the show, you can find us on Weekly Planet Pod on Facebook and Gmail and Twitter and Bandcamp. Let's see. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Mr. Sunday Movies. You can go to the Amazon affiliate link, which I assume James has put in the episode description.
You are
click on
doing
that.
so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You click on that, you go through, you buy if you want to buy some stuff at Amazon, if you want to buy the original It or the 1,200 page Stephen King novel It. If you want to get into that, compare and contrast, do all three.
Yeah.
Do the triple if you want to do that. We get a kickback somehow. I don't know how that works. Let's see. Thank you to the Brute and the Basilisk and Rackham for all our themes. There's t-shirts on TeePublic. That's about it, I think.
Man, if you don't do podcasts, you should. You are good at that.
Oh, thank you. That's it, I think. Yeah, pretty good. Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Oh,
Thank you for having us.
Thanks everybody for
having us
listening,
here.
to subscribing, saying they like it, sending us a nice message on Twitter, on the Gmail. It's all been great.
Yeah, and thank you, from us as well.
Yeah, they know you.
Yeah.
They know you. You're welcome, they all say.
Oh, well, that's nice. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Anyway, grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.